This episode of Living Electric is brought to you by Living Electric merch. So we've got some t-shirts. I'm rocking the LE Bolt logo tee right here. We've also got hats that are embroidered with our logo on there. And we've got some other cool stuff on the store as well. So if you want to support the podcast, go check out our store. It is linked in this episode. And check it out and support the podcast. Thanks so much and hope you enjoy the episode. So Brandon, have you ever been in a situation where you've seen either you personally or just people you've seen out in public take advantage of something just because it's free?
Yes. Specifically like baked goods, like if they're like free samples.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I feel like that's probably like the best example, but like, I mean, I feel like I've seen examples where like somebody buys something and then they get something free. Just, they just wanted the free thing, so they spent the money on it.
Oh, yeah.
But mainly baked goods because that's typically where you can find me.
That's fair. Yeah. I think, now that Costco's given their free samples again, I definitely see a lot of people just trolling through the aisles, not necessarily looking for anything to shop for. They're just there for the samples.
Right. Yeah, believe it or not, I actually don't eat the Costco free samples. Like, really? I don't know, like that, like I know people go to Costco specifically like after church just to spend hours eating free samples, and that just, it never intrigued me. I don't know.
That's funny.
Yeah. Have you done that? Like, have you just gone there and just...
I have not gone there specifically for the free samples, no. But anytime I went, like when I was in high school and I like went with my family, then it was a plus anytime they were giving out free samples. So
yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Definitely. But that kind of leads into our topic for today because we're talking about free charging, and we've actually got like a great message from one of our listeners. It is Landon. He's at West Teslarado on Twitter. Sent us a message and said, because we reached out after we kind of talked about our charging savings and said, if you have any free charging or like charging savings that you want to share with us, send them to us. So he sent us a screenshot of his Tesla app where it shows his charge stats, and they have only spent $1 on charging in the past 31 days, and they've charged over 511 kilowatt hours. So that's like over 6 full like Model 3 batteries. I'm assuming they have a Model 3. They could have a bigger vehicle, but and have only spent $1. So.
Which is crazy. I mean, I mean, just depending on the average range of like whatever Tesla it is, that's well over 1,000 miles for $1.
Yes, and 98% of that charging, it looks like, has been at free public stations, because the 98% is like other charging, and you can set the rate of that other charging. So if you maybe charge at work or there's a frequent public charger you go to, you can adjust that rate to whatever you're spending there. So that looks like it's set to $0 because it hasn't cost them anything, and only 2% has been home charging, and it looks like just for a few hours on some random day in the middle of the month. But I mean, that kind of begs a question, and I think we've talked about it in that cost of charging episode, is like, should charging be free? And that's what we're discussing today.
Yes. We're going to have a debate, even though I feel like we're just going to end up on the same page like we normally do. So we're going to have a conversation. It might turn heated, probably not. But yeah, no, I've been waiting all day to talk about this topic because like I mean, this is just before we dive into it. I think we should probably talk about that article you found, how the I think the North Carolina legislator.
Yeah, let me pull that up so I know the... Yeah, I gotta click through all my menus here. So
shout out
just
to Clean Technica.
Right? Clean Technica. So apparently there is a kind of movement in North Carolina to essentially ban free EV charging. So I think the way they're going out about it is basically saying, if you're going to offer free charging for electric vehicles, you've also got to offer free gas for gas vehicles. That's kind of how they're tackling it, because you can't like completely outlaw giving things away, I don't think, because that's generally not an issue, I feel like. So Yeah,
I mean,
I just think it's interesting.
yeah, I definitely think it's interesting too, and this is just my opinion because like as electric vehicles, advance and like we start seeing more on the road, I definitely can see free charging disappearing, but if it's subsidized with like a marketing plan, like how Volta advertises like on their charging station, so like it's free for like 2 hours because the sponsor paid for that electricity to make it free for the driver.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that being the future approach, but if it's like a connected station, like, like a Shell recharge station or like a charge point station, I can definitely see where there's going to be a fee with that eventually. But I think right now, I think free will still be around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is, and I'm sure you've seen this now, is there's become a lot more kind of animosity towards other EV owners now that there are so many of us. Like we're like, even just a few years ago, it was awesome to see somebody else at a charger. Like that was a rare sighting. It was usually just you at a charger, especially if it was just some random one in your town or something. And there was kind of a camaraderie around that. Like all EV owners are kind of on the same page. They're excited about their vehicles, want to chat about them, all that stuff. But now it almost feels like we've got this kind of animosity towards each other of like, oh, well, like I should be able to charge here for XYZ. And like, if you've been here for too long, you probably need to get going. Like now that it's kind of getting crowded, there's a lot more discussion going on than than in the past.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, and another way to look at it too is that like, as like gas prices increase and electricity is another fuel type, like, is it necessarily like fair to have free fuel? Like, like I think to me, it depends on like the implementation. Like if it's like at a hotel or like say, for example, like a private employee parking garage, then I think, yeah, that should be a perk for the employee or like, the guests of that hotel. But if it's like out in public and it's like at a business that like a business installed, then maybe there should be a fee. But I just think it all depends on the situation.
Yeah, I think anytime there's something that's free, there's gonna be people that take advantage of it. Like people just plug in because they can. And I brought this up on the podcast before. It's like generally I'm not gonna plug in now that I have home charging. I'm not gonna plug in on a public charger unless there's literally nobody there, and I'm trying to like artificially boost the like utilization so that they might install more charging. So. Yeah. That's really the only time that I would like plug in public, but I see it all the time. It's like not to like throw this listener under the bus, but like people, if they have the opportunity to go charge for free, they're going to go do it. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's being offered. I don't think anybody's necessarily entitled to that station. So if that's available and they want to go plug in, I mean, like there's nothing stopping them, right? So so you might as well.
So, the other night, like, we purposely ran down the battery on our Model 3 because we went to a friend's apartment in downtown Cleveland that had free level 2 charging. And the example you gave where, I mean, like, I feel like maybe this is just, like, nerds talking where we just want to, like, provide utilization data. Right. But that's exactly why we ran the battery down, so we could prove that that charger was being used.
Right.
And it was installed in a residential parking garage. However, it's now made public, so anybody in the area can use it. And what they're doing to incentivize using the charger, the parking or the paid to park is free as long as you're charging using that charger. The charger's free. So you kind of like almost get like a win-win situation there. Yeah. But they don't force you to pay for parking because you're using their charger. So
gotcha. Interesting.
And I don't know how that's like subsidized, in both examples, because when we were there was 3 Teslas. And when we pulled in, one left so we could charge. And then when we left, there was a Bolt, a Polestar, and then another Tesla just sitting there.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Waiting to be plugged in. So like people are clearly like, they're utilizing it.
I was going to say, why would they, is there a reason they opened it up to the public and not just for like tenants?
So I'm not, to be honest, I'm not sure. Like it's in a great spot for like plugging in, getting dinner, like seeing your friends at like their, their apartments. So like it's in a prime location. And I think that's why they opened it.
Gotcha.
But I'm not entirely sure because at first it was restricted and then it showed up on ChargePoint's like public map.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I think is interesting is like a lot of people install them free at first, and like a situation like that, like I'm guessing, I'm just assuming here that maybe they installed it for their tenants to use, but maybe like one or two people at that complex like have an EV, so nobody was using it. So they're like, all right, we're just going to open it up to everybody now. And now it sounds like it's being hammered with tons of EVs trying to charge.
For sure. For sure.
So I think, like you said, like situation means everything here is like, where is that charger at? Like, is it actually going to be utilized as much? And I think that's a concern we as kind of early adopters have, is those chargers going away. Like, I don't think that concern is as great anymore, because most people that are installing chargers are doing it a lot better than they have done it even 5 years ago. Like, there's more support in place, I think. So I think that concern is definitely starting to go away, but I think just naturally we're all like, oh, we've got to go use these chargers or else they're going to get rid of them. But I don't know if that concern is quite as prevalent as it was in the past.
I mean, just based on like the experience that I just had, like I don't think it's as prevalent as it is in the past. Like, I mean, like you even experienced it when you were shopping for apartments, right? Where they had level 2s installed, nobody used them, so they tore them out of the ground.
Right. Yeah.
And that was how many years ago?
Oh, it was a while ago. Yeah, because apparently the old complex I was at here in Columbus, they had EV charging like 10 years ago, before like anybody had EVs. So but nobody used them, obviously, so they just tore them out of the ground. And I think I don't know if that was because they were a part of some pilot program or something. But yeah, they ended up getting rid of them. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Like, it would have been nice to have those.
Right? Seriously, yeah.
But I think we're kind of past that point where a lot of people are in the like full development phase now, not the pilot phase where they're like just figuring things out and seeing the lay of the land, seeing how many people are going to use them. Like, I see all the time in Columbus now, it's like new apartments going up and they install 10 EV chargers if they've got like a ton of units in there, and it's great. So we definitely need more of that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, speaking of like a benefit for, like multi-dwelling, like housing and like, for employees, like my first job out of college at the Cleveland Clinic, they had 10 chargers in their brand new parking garage.
Nice.
And what was weird is that they were non-network, but you had to tap your credit card in order to activate it, but it was free. It was like, I don't know, I can't remember what kind of chargers they were. They were like maybe BTC Power, I think they were.
Interesting.
But they weren't connected to an app. So they were free. There, it was a free benefit. And over the year that I was there, I was the first plug-in, and then eventually all the spots started filling up.
That's cool.
But it was totally free. So like if I still worked there, I could have just fueled up while I was at work for free. You know, so like I think if you have that situation, you should definitely take advantage of it while you can, because I have a feeling that like a bunch of these chargers that are connected to a network and like have the ability to like, or for somebody to edit the pricing, I just think that it's the subsidized pricing and whatever, is occurring with those free chargers, it's not going to last. I just don't see it being a permanent thing unless it's like a totally off networked like Clipper Creek charger where you can't even change the, anything with it.
Right.
But yeah.
Now, was that parking garage, was that locked? Like, could you only get in there if you were an employee?
Correct. Yeah, you had to have a badge.
Yeah. And in that situation, I think it makes sense because it is like it's behind the fence, if you will. So it's easier to make it free and limit access to it, like physical access. You can't get in there unless you work there. So I think having any kind of access control for free charging is definitely a plus. It's interesting because my old employer, it's just like a big open flat lot, and we have, I think, 20 some level 2s just in the open parking lot. And like I could drive over there right now and just go plug in, and it's non-networked. It'll just start charging. But you kind of run into that issue of like, are you going to have random people showing up because they know it's a free charger?
Yeah.
So
taking advantage of that.
Right. And tons of employees take advantage of it. That's initially why I bought my car, is because my employer had free charging. So, I mean, I was spending $200 a month on gas. So that was a pretty big incentive to switch to an EV if I could save that much. And that helped a ton because I'd plug in there during the week and I'd have enough to last the weekend, plug in again on Monday, and I'd be good. So I think in those situations, for sure, like workplace charging, any kind of place where it's kind of like controlled access, it's kind of pseudo public, if you will, like makes complete sense to make it public, make it free and in public. It becomes an issue though when it is like truly out in the open, like you're saying in downtown, like Cleveland, like having like a well-positioned public charger that's free. Like I could definitely see people taking advantage of that when they could, especially if they're spending like money at home to charge their car. So,
no, totally. Yeah. That's where, like, if it wasn't so cheap to like charge at home, I would easily like find like some free charging around us, just leave the car there for a little bit and like take advantage of that. Yeah. But as we talked about it, in like a previous episode, like I leave the public chargers open for people who need them.
Right.
Unless like I'm traveling like to visit you in Columbus or like further than that, then yeah, I'll utilize a public charger. But I'm not going to block one when somebody could absolutely use it.
Right.
Yeah. So I do have a question for you. Because like I feel like you always ask me questions, so I'm gonna put you in your place. No, I'm just kidding. So when it comes to new electric vehicles, specifically like the ID4, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 that offer like complimentary charging at like Electrify America stations, I saw Brandon Flash on Twitter. I actually believe his Twitter handle is @BrandonFlash if you guys want to follow him. He posted a full charging station. It was all ID4s. And somebody responded with, when do you think Volkswagen's going to, or when do you think they're going to stop offering complimentary charging to stop this from happening? And I want to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, Tesla did the same thing with their early Model S's and even Model 3s for a little bit. Like, there's some Model 3s out there with free supercharging for life. That's not a 3-year term. It's for life. And I've actually run into that with a Model S owner, actually. I think I've told this story before, but like one of my first time supercharging, I was stopping at the Dayton supercharger, and only 4 of them were open. So the 4 of them were down because there was a power outage, and I think 4 of them like didn't kick back up when the power came back on. And I went to try to plug in, and there was 4 Teslas plugged in and then 4 spots empty where the chargers weren't working. And one of them was, I asked like the owner, I said, do you know what's going on? And he's like, yeah, a ton of people have come up and tried to plug in, and they're out right now. And he's like, yeah, I don't even really need to charge right now. I just got free charging, so I'm here plugging in my Model S. Like, I'm just headed home for the day. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm trying to drive like 2 more hours after this, so I kind of need to plug in. So yeah, just like, I think just kind of being considerate in that situation. It's so tough though, because like it's something that Volkswagen offered. Like Electrify America's in on it, Volkswagen is in on it. Like they want you to utilize their chargers, and it's an incentive to buy the vehicle. So I don't know. There's no nice way to say like don't use the free charging. but I think that is going to start to go away as people realize that like, yes, like charging is out there. Like we don't need to walk you through the whole process. It's easiest to charge at home anyway. Like trying to mimic the gas station charging experience is just not going to work with EVs. Nobody's going to want to go to a fast charger once a week. Like I just personally don't think it's going to work out that way once you realize how easy home charging is. And yeah, I don't know. I don't like it generally. Like I like it maybe for a limited term, and I'm glad they did do that. At least I'll say that. I'm glad they limited it to 3 years, because if it were full time like Tesla did with their early vehicles, like you see how full superchargers are getting now. Imagine if everybody had free charging. Like there's no way that'd be sustainable. So
no, not at all.
And is Volkswagen still offering that with new vehicles? Like if you buy an ID4 today, do you get 3 years of free charging?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. And Hyundai's still offering that with, I believe it's 2 years of unlimited 30-minute sessions.
Okay. So it is limited to 30 minutes, but still, like you're probably going to charge up enough in that time. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's so tough because like that would be an incentive for me to buy a vehicle. So I understand the business case, but then like as a fellow EV driver, if I'm pulling up to a station and a bunch of people just plugged in because they can, like I'd be a little bit upset. So yeah.
No, I'm in the same boat. Like, I definitely see it as like an incentive for purchasing the vehicle. But
Mm-hmm.
like I this is going to sound weird, and I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me on this. When we were car shopping, we were specifically looking at the Ioniq 5 over the EV6 because you get the 2 years of unlimited 30-minute sessions
Mm,
with where the EV6 you only get 1,000 kilowatt hours at
okay.
EA stations. Where, like, for example, like if you got a Mach-E, it was only 250 kilowatt hours. So like it's not
Mm,
a lot. Like it's
yeah.
not. I think maybe less than 10 charges. Just throwing out
Yeah.
a
Rough
number. It might,
numbers.
yeah. But that's why we were looking at the Ioniq 5 because at the time we were going to move, to Portland, so like we could
Right.
travel across the country for free. But at the same time, like the more I think about it, people will probably take advantage of the free charging to save money, which then blocks a charger. So like I definitely think that there needs to be some type of regulation and like limitation there because we're
Mm,
already starting to see new EVs that don't even come with that. Like the
yeah.
F-150 Lightning doesn't even come with the 250 kilowatt hours that the
Mm,
Mach-E had.
right.
So, which I think is only fair. Like you
Yeah.
get a free tank of gas from when you buy a gas car.
Right.
Like, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I feel like it just definitely depends on the scenario. But I guess for me, like I like free things, but at the same time too, like I feel like I'm taking advantage of whatever the like the scenario is.
Yeah.
And like that's where like I think it's really cool. Like some places will install like Clipper Creek chargers, and they'll have like a donation box, so like you can donate money for the
Mm,
cost of your charge that gets either put towards the business, the cost of electricity, or like a charity. So like I think
gotcha.
that's pretty cool, but unless it's
Yeah.
sponsored, then I'll
Yeah.
take advantage of it. But it's
Yeah, the fast charging is interesting too because I just realized like I essentially have free supercharging because of
yeah.
all my referral miles, and I was trying to think like, do I stop at a supercharger just because I can? And like, really no. Like, like if we go shopping at the grocery store, there's a supercharger in that lot. Like I generally don't plug in there unless I really need to. So even
Hmm.
though I have free charging, that's not necessarily influencing my decision, but also I don't pay for charging at home either
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
my garage isn't metered. So that's kind of weird too. So I wonder if I would think about it differently if I didn't have that free supercharging. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I will ask you this: Have you ever gone like, or have you ever gone out of your way to go plug in a free charger if you had the opportunity? Like if you're traveling somewhere and like there's a charger that costs 10 cents a kilowatt hour here, but there's a free one like a couple streets down. Like, have you
Oh,
gone out of
yeah.
your way?
Yeah, so not recently. So I just want to throw this out there. When I was a college student and I had my Volt, obviously I didn't have like the income that I do now. So like I would
That's
take
fair.
advantage of free chargers,
Yeah.
to save some money. But the best example that I would think of is back then when I was a student. I instead of like paying for like the chargers and like the lots closer to the buildings that I would be in, I would literally park 2 miles off campus at a free charger and then walk to campus, go
Gotcha.
to class,
Okay.
and then walk back to my car. And
Yeah.
that's probably why I was like 50 pounds lighter in college. But it was a great scenario because I could drive to campus, plug
Yeah.
in, get a free charge, then drive home and take advantage of my parents' electricity and
There you go.
charge at their house. But yeah, I would say that's probably the best situation
That's
I've
a
been
yeah.
in with
That's a good
that.
good example though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm trying to think if I have or not. Generally, I will like go out of my way just to find a plug in the first place. Like I can think of a couple examples offhand where like because I've driven around rural Ohio, like I feel like more than anybody in an EV,
Yeah.
because like Mallory's family is from rural Ohio, so we were out there a decent amount and traveling around. And I remember we went to a track meet and there was a charger like a solid like 3/4 of a mile away from the track, but like I kind of needed to plug in so that we could get home. So
Yeah.
I parked there, plugged in, walked like the 3/4 of a mile to the track meet. It was like a 20-minute walk to the track. Had my car plugged in the whole time we were at the track meet, and then when it was over, we went and grabbed the car and drove home. So
Yeah.
that's an example. And then like in like the downtown and the part of town I live in, there used to be only like one charger close to town, so I would usually plug in there if we had friends in town, while we walked around everywhere. But it was like, I don't know, or maybe a quarter mile outside of town, so you had to walk before you got to kind of the Main Street area. So I would plug in there, and luckily they've now installed, I think, 6 total like level 2 chargers in town, like in the main public lots. So I just plug in there now. It's great. So that's those are a couple examples of doing that.
I mean, like my thing is that like, and it kind of goes back to like Volta's business practices where they have like non-intrusive marketing like on their chargers. So like I love what Volta's doing, and like I love that they're installing like 50 kilowatt fast chargers that are free for 30 minutes, and they're literally just this massive like screen, and they just show advertisement, and like sometimes it's just at their own advertisements, and it's free for the driver. For fast charging is only 30 minutes and level 2 charging is 2 hours, but it's all subsidized by advertisement. So like I feel like eventually, like if we could get to that point, because like you already see it at gas pumps, when you're pumping gas and you just hear this annoying like buy a Slurpee, and like this like where they it's so annoying where they just like scream at you, and it's like I just want to just leave me alone. Like I don't care about your point system, just leave me alone. But like if it was like some non-intrusive marketing, I think that would be brilliant to have some way to subsidize it.
I like that. Have you, like on TikTok, have you seen those TikToks of like the free water people give out in like the aluminum cans? Have you seen those videos?
No, I don't think I have.
I don't know if they're ads that pop up on TikTok or like actual videos of their like from their TikTok account, but they hand out waters to people. They're in aluminum bottles, so they're fully recyclable, like even more so than plastic bottles. And they're just wrapped in ads all the way around, and they just hand them out for free at events, and they give the little spiel. They're like, it's aluminum, so please recycle it after you're done drinking it. It's fully paid for by ads, so it's completely free water. And they just give it out at events and stuff for where it's hot out and people are walking around and need water. So I think situations like that also make me want to buy from a brand more than anything. Like if you've done a little thing for me that is nice, like I want to also then support you as well. So I think Volta's kind of got that figured out, whereas like if somebody pays for like the first half of my charging session while I'm shopping somewhere and I see somebody's ad on there that's helped support that, I'm probably going to check out their thing as kind of a thank you. So
for sure. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. Like I was actually just talking to Tyler about that last night after we finished our conversation with Andre from Indy, and like I'm wearing Land right now. Like when you feel like those like almost like that like emotional connection, and like you learn their stories, and like you learn more about like what these companies are doing to progress things, and like if it's like an advertisement for solar panels or something like that, you feel more inclined to want to be their customer because that you feel that connection. And that's what I like about Volta. Like they're not the fastest chargers out there, but they're expanding rapidly. They just signed on with like Walgreens. They're going to be installing fast chargers at like I think almost 800 Walgreens across the country.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And as of right now, it's all subsidized because of those marketing or the advertisements. Cool. So, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's we'll have to get somebody from Volta on. That would be an interesting conversation. Kind of hear about their company. I remembered what I was going to say earlier. It would be nice if there were a way to, and I'm sure there's a way to do this in software, like the Electrify America example we talked about earlier, where if the charging location is like close to full, if you will, like if it's 75% full and there's only like 2 spots left, then no free charging at all. So if somebody is coming up and has their free charging, they're not going to waste that but they're not going to take up that last spot that somebody that is running close to zero on a road trip needs to plug in. So you don't have somebody like taking that spot. I think that's a good way to go about it. And also like when, I don't know if you've been to like a high usage supercharger and you've gotten that alert in your car where it says we've limited your battery to 80%. If you need to expand beyond that, like adjust your charge limit, but like please be cognizant of everybody else that's trying to plug in. Like this is a high usage station right now. So they automatically adjust that stuff. And that like I don't think EA can do that with everybody else's car. So that's that can't really be fixed. But I think kind of having that limit of like, all right, if the station's close to full, like nobody else is getting free charging until it opens up a little more. Then you don't have people taking advantage of that and kind of wasting those last resources. I think.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's very similar to that, like, grace period. Like, when your vehicle charges, you have, like, that 10-minute window, or where, it finishes charges, and you have that 10-minute window where you have to get your car, or they start, like, fining you, or they, like, add costs to your charge. I think what would be really interesting is that, like, EA specifically, they have, like, the premium plans where you can get, like, a discounted rate. What I think they should really start doing is when you buy like an Ioniq 5, they should have like some type of Ioniq 5 plan where it's like 12 cents a kilowatt hour instead of 32 or 34 cents a kilowatt hour.
Where it's not completely free, but you get some kind of perk.
Yes. Yeah. Some type of perk. That way, like, you can still utilize a more, like, affordable rate, but it's not free. Like, I almost feel like that's where it's going to get to some point until they can figure out where, like your example, where they limit, the car that can charge there if they have that free plan. Like, I think that would just be the best approach.
Yeah. This is almost like a psychology type thing. I'm curious if there's any studies out there showing, like, if people are more inclined to buy something that they don't need for, like, a very low price or free. Like, I almost guarantee you, like, most people are going to take that thing they don't need just because it's free and they can have it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I know I'm like guilty of that. I feel like anytime we go to like a trade show or like a festival or anything, I want to get as much like free swag that people are handing up as possible. Yeah. And it's like, and then I get home and I'm like, I don't need any of this. Like, why did I grab all this?
So I know.
I don't know what about.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't know what about human nature like makes us want to collect all this stuff, but it's just something
I think this is going to sound terrible, and I'm not going to like, throw everybody on this planet into a group, but like, I feel like it is like almost like a little bit of greed. Like, I feel like it is like human nature, to want free, and especially as things are so expensive nowadays, and like things like pricing is increasing almost everywhere, right? To have the ability to have something free still, obviously that's really intriguing, but to circle back to what I said at the beginning, where like if you have like a free reward for buying something, I'm so guilty of that. Like, like especially video games where like you pay for like the premium one, and then you get like a little like trinket. And then you lose the trinket, and you spent like a $30 extra, for this like little plastic trinket, and then you don't even use it. So but I'm guilty of that. That's the free things that I've strived for, where it costs me more to get the free thing. So
that's funny.
But
so verdict here, like, I guess, do we think there should be free charging? Like, I think we both agree that this North Carolina law is kind of ridiculous. Like, I don't think free charging should be completely banned. Like, I think that's ridiculous. I think it's just about implementing it the right way, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I don't think it should be like illegal. Like, and I definitely don't think we're to the point in this industry where we should have regulation like that and like that type of control. Yeah. But like, I think it should be limited, and it should be based on the implementation. Like, definitely. If it's a Clipper Creek at a hotel, should be free because you're paying for the nightly costs of that hotel room. Yeah,
I think to kind of sum up, I think controlling access is huge for free chargers, especially at a hotel, at a business. Like, if there's some way to like authenticate that somebody's actually staying in the hotel, that is good. Or like authenticate that you're actually an employee, like that's good.
Yeah.
And then also having like idle fees on top of that as well. So if it is a completely open, free to the public charger, having an idle fee on there so somebody isn't plugged in not charging their car. I don't think we even dove into that, of like people plugged in and not charging, but it's free. So like, what can you do? So
I definitely, in that example, I don't know. I feel like at that. You said be nice. Yes, be nice, be respectful. It just goes back to it. Like, if you don't need to use the charger, just don't use it. Like, somebody out there could use it, and just be respectful. But I was just gonna say, you mentioned finding like ways to prove that like you're either a hotel guest or like an employee. There are chargers that hotels are installing that you tap your room key card on,
Ooh,
and that's how you
that's
activate
smart.
it. Yeah,
That's smart.
I've seen through my research, some hotels are installing those.
That's really smart. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go about it, honestly. So
Yeah.
that's really smart.
No. I would love to know what everybody else thinks about this. We'll definitely include the Clean Technica article in the description in the show notes.
Yeah,
Because I think that this could be a really good conversation. Let us know your thoughts, and we could definitely talk more about them in the next episode.
definitely. Yeah, I think this is going to become a more heated topic as, like we said at the beginning, as EV adoption speeds up too, because we're still kind of in the early adopter phase, but we're getting towards is it like first movers after that? I can't remember what's after early adopters. There's like stages to there's like stages to like product adoption, but I think we're kind of in that first segment of like ramping up to like it becoming a big thing. So we're, as EV owners and just the EV community, we're figuring a lot of stuff out. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out and where we kind of land on free charging. Sure. But I think there's solutions for everything though. So that's
exactly. Yeah. Well, I think next episode we should talk price gouging. I think that should be the next one.
That'd be a good foil to this episode for sure, is super high price charging, because we've seen some interesting stuff. I'm sure you have too.
Yes, we have.
So
yep. Should we give another shout out for the merch store?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Sweet. Okay, do you want me to do that?
Yep. I recorded one earlier, so you got to do it.
Okay. Sounds good. So just a friendly reminder, we now officially have Living Electric merchandise available on Alex's e-commerce site. What's the URL?
It's sibs-shop.com. We'll have it linked down in the episode show notes as well. So we've got the hat here I'm showing. That's all embroidered real nice. And I'm rocking I think it's called the LE Bolt logo tee with our little kind of logo on it. So really nice shirts too. I don't think I mentioned in the ad read, they're 100% organic cotton. So that's like one of the most sustainable materials you can make fabric out of. And it is like this eco-conscious tee. So 100, or not 100%, 1% of profits go towards nonprofits that are working to do environmental work. So, yeah, it's supporting a good cause too.
Yes.
Not just us, but also just other nonprofit work. So.
Yep. And if you want to donate as well, there is a little donate section that helps Alex's YouTube channel, as well as if you want to donate to Living Electric, helps us produce more content. And we can talk more free charging.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, and we'll send you a little... Good. Sorry.
I was going to say, and bring this podcast for free. So
yes.
It's not going behind a paywall.
Nope. Yep. And if you guys do end up buying something, we'll send you guys a personal thank you video as well. So, which is mainly just me on a screen and Alex holding his phone up. So
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely check out the merch, and we really appreciate the support of Living Electric.
Yep. We'll talk to you in the next episode.